Marry me, Annie here, exploring another aspect of balance in the season of Mabon. This time the balance between desire and need. Need, well, we can define that rather simply, can't we? It's everything that we physically cannot exist without. But desire is a bit more complicated of a thing to describe. I have some notes in front of me for that. It's a feeling and nothing more. It's your brain's way of telling you that you're missing something in life. Contrary to what some people think, desire can actually be a good and necessary part of being human. The desire for knowledge, the desire to help others, the desire for a better life, the desire to become enlightened, they're all very powerful drivers to becoming the person you were meant to be. What I call becoming a divine human. Desire is not the enemy to a happy and balanced life. It's not a roadblock to experiencing a higher self. In fact, desire can be the driver for all that greater awareness and conscientiousness we so often seek. It is not the desire that is bad. It's the lack of checks and balances that can turn a healthy emotion into a self-destructive one. When desire is driven by ego, that is when we start to undermine our happiness and our well-being. And that comes from a website I stumbled upon online, and I'll link to it in the text box. I don't have the reference here in front of me, so I can't. Oh, there's Ernie in the background. He's up and about. What's wrong, baby? Oh, you're not feeling good today. So I will put the link to that website. If I remember correctly, the rest of the article was also really interesting. Desire and need and the balancing of the two. We don't live a very rewarding, active, or creative life at the sense of the art of our living, if it's all about need, what we absolutely have to have. Even in times in our life when our struggle, our day-to-day living in our day appears to be all about trying to get the roof over our head and pay our bills and take care of our family or ourselves, the absolute needs in life, there still is desire that weaves through that. It's when the needs that we have in life aren't met because we're too busy, driven by the desire of attaining or feeling distraught that we haven't, where the balance becomes, well, out of place. Even in the life of struggle, we need to create time to dream, to set goals, to just allow ourselves to want. Sometimes that's the only way that wants ever come true. There's the gotta haves. When desires become something we perceive as a need. That's probably the biggest factor that destroys the balance between desire and want. Being in the middle. Again, I talk about the pendulum swing. If you have desire at one end and we have need at the other end, there's something that's in the middle. I liked what I saw someplace. It was a quote of Thomas Hobbes, who was a 17th century philosopher. And he was talking about the place in the middle being contentment. Contentment, he said, is marked by the complacency and satisfaction that follows fulfilling a desire or letting it go. What do you think about that balance between desire and need? And what about that place in the middle that Hobbes refers to, where we celebrate or let go of our desires? Offered there just for your consideration, because that made me do a little journaling and pondering. The entire wheel of the year is an experience in Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of need. So if you had to spend time maybe in a class at university on that, you're probably now shivering. But have you ever thought about applying need, which also then builds into a kind of desire in his pyramid? Have you ever thought about applying that to the wheel of the year? I think there's something really powerful that can be done there. This is what the hierarchy of need looks a foundational pyramid where each thing builds upon the other till it gets to a pinnacle. At the very bottom, which is certainly the dark times, the bare times, the most essential times in the wheel of the year, we have what's called physiological need. That's food, shelter, warmth. The basic, gotta have or can't live needs of life. Next up the pyramid is what's called safety. That's security, stability, and freedom from fear. I'd say that's in the turning of the wheel of the year. We move from the power of winter, our foundation, the bones of the earth, our bones, our structure, what we can depend upon is the most solid. And we start to move towards Imbolc with a feeling of expanding of that, making something from it, actually, what we build from the time that we've spent in the darkness. That moves on the hierarchy of need to belonging and love. That's the level of need which includes friends, family, spouse, and lover. I would say we could expand that level of belonging and love to everything that we're connected to. I put Ernie smackly on that level of need for me and our bond. And that's the place from Imbolc through Ostara, even into Beltane, where we start to realize it's not just about us. We have met our needs, we have built something from them, and now we can step out of that. It's a secure place to come home to and enter the world and make our connections. The next level in the hierarchy of need is self-esteem, and that is achievement, mastery, recognition, and respect. That's definitely the season of fire on the wheel of the year, where we have the solid foundation from which we build, something we return to whenever we need to, stepping out of that and into the world, making our connections. Through our experience of making connections with others, we learn more about who we are and what our skills and abilities are. And in our wheel of the year, as we practice in the Wiccan tradition, our sovereignty, it's just becoming stronger and stronger. Our skills are being honed. We're becoming more and more who we are meant to be as we move from Beltane through Midsummer to Lammas. And then the pinnacle, the tippy top on the hierarchy of need is self-actualization, where we pursue inner talent, creativity, and fulfillment. That could be seen as a summertime fire thing. It can also be seen as the work we take on as we are getting back to the place in the wheel that's the bare bones. A lot of that happens in the quiet time and in the stillness. I'd say that this time of the year at Mabon, we are somewhere between that self-esteem, achievement, mastery, recognition, and respect, verging on the absolute luxury, I think it's filled with desire, to pursue inner talent, creativity, and fulfillment, because this is the turning of the wheel when we're going into the quiet place and deciding what we're going to birth from there. Some considerations for you of desire and need in the season of Mabon. Where would you say that you were in your turning of the wheel? And would it align to Mabon the way I have said it? Remember, we're moving from the things we absolutely have to have to the feelings we get of that of security, stability, and freedom from fear, into the belonging that brings us in contact with the other and the connections we make outside of ourselves. Self-esteem, what rises from that, and who we know of ourselves. And then self-actualization, truly becoming who we are absolutely meant to be at the communal, personal, and spiritual level. I wish you all mirth and reverence in the season of Mabon.